Nebraska has landed a commitment from elite 27 quarterback Trey Taylor, the number 11 prospect in the country, and the number four quarterback per Rivals. Obviously, a significant addition to Nebraska's program and a significant land here in the 27 class. Well, I mean, what a way to get this 27 cycle started. We've talked all spring about Nebraska's pushing for this top 15 class in 27, and to get us started off with the quarterback commit, with the guy in the class. Is a really big deal, and of course, beating out Illinois, beating out Texas A&M, LSU, and so many other programs involved. He visited Michigan over 12 times, over a dozen times. Visited Notre Dame a bunch. Georgia was in the mix. Alabama was in the mix. Significant win for Nebraska, especially considering they didn't offer until October when they had him on campus for a visit. It's a significant win, and obviously the work's not done. I think this is going to be recruitment Nebraska's going to have to fight to hold on to till the very end. Like I mentioned, all these other programs in the mix, I don't expect these programs to back down. I do expect Taylor to kind of shut things down at least for a bit and stick with this commitment. But I would not shock me if he makes a few other visits in the fall and does keep his ear open to other programs until he signs. That's kind of the way this process works. But he wanted to make a decision early. He's been doing this recruiting thing for a really long time. He's basically essentially been a prospect and been making visits since middle school. And so schools have been away from him a while. He's done this process for a while. And so wanted to be done with it, wanted to lock in the spot and get started on peer recruiting. And that's a big deal for Nebraska, obviously. And but first off, we wanted to get right into just what exactly is Nebraska getting and what does this mean? First off, in terms of what it means, you look at what they've done over the last few years at the quarterback position. Obviously, landing Dylan Raiola when they did, and Daniel Kalen in that class at the same time was a great way to get things started. Obviously, Dylan's the guy now. In the very next cycle, they went out and got TJ Latif, four-star quarterback out of California. They have Dayton Raiola committed. Dylan's little brother in the 26 cycle, and now they have the 27 quarterback committed. And as people have pointed out, gone are the days where Nebraska has one scholarship quarterback at the top and three walk-on backups behind him. They're building out a real quarterback depth chart, and they're staying aggressive. They're encouraging competition. They're bringing in competition in the room. Factor in the fact that they added Marcus Davila out of the transfer portal, another four-star prospect out of the high school ranks this past portal cycle. And you look at what they've done at this position, it's setting up for okay, whatever, however many years they get out of Dylan Raiola, whether it's two or three, they're setting up for whenever Dylan's no longer with the program. It's going to be a heated competition for who takes over. Could be TJ Latif, could be Dayton Raiola, could be Marcus Davila, and now Trey Taylor throws his hat into the ring and has a really good opportunity to potentially be that guy when he steps foot on campus. We're talking about a prospect that stands 6'3", 180 pounds, really slight frame right now, but he's continuing to grow over the last year or so. He's grown over an inch and still kind of growing into that frame as well. I've been encouraged by some of the his body development this spring, kind of what he's been able to do and the mass he's been able to add to his frame. I think he's going to continue filling out, but that's something to keep an eye on is how he continues to fill out over these next 2 years of high school into his college career. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he needs a year or at least an off season in the weight room or in a college strength program to really get it together and really get his body to a point where he's ready to take kind of the contact he'll face in the Big Ten. But for his size and at 6'3", you like a lot of the traits. He's a guy that he's been playing quarterback for a long time, been on the camp circuit for a really long time. This last fall was his first year as a varsity starter, and he produced at a high level. Completed 191 of 282 pass attempts for 3,061 yards and 20 touchdowns to just seven interceptions, completing nearly 68% of his pass attempts. He had another 437 yards and five touchdowns rushing. What I really liked watching his junior film was one as a thrower. He's very technically sound. The footwork, it's technically sound. It's efficient. He does a really good job of getting the ball out quickly, going through his progressions quickly, and takes the layups. I've mentioned it in other programs. I've mentioned it here as well. in this day and age, what you're looking for in a quarterback, you need quarterbacks that can take the layups. I thought TJ Latif did a really good job of that at Orange Lutheran in high school. I thought Dylan Raiola in high school did a really good job of that. And early on in his Nebraska career, those first couple of games when he was really in a groove, was doing a really good job of taking the layups. It's one thing to be a quarterback that can play hero ball, and Trey Taylor can play hero ball, Dylan Raiola can play hero ball, but to be a winning quarterback, drive in and drive out, game in and game out, you have to be able to take the layups. You have to be able to take what the defense gives you. And Taylor does a really good job of that. And don't get me wrong, he can do the hero ball stuff. Something I like watching through his sophomore season, as the year progressed, he did a really good job of getting comfortable, working against pressure, getting comfortable working, kind of when the play goes off script, when things go out of hand, when pressure gets into his face. I thought something really encouraging watching his tape, both in 7-on-7 and in obviously in pads and in varsity football, is just his ability to kind of stand in the pocket, and bear down even when the pressure's coming down, and just stand in the pocket, willing to take those hits and throw across the middle of the field. I think he throws with exceptional zip, especially across the middle of the field. Has capable arm strength. I don't think he's not, Dylan Raiola arm strength. He can chuck it 70, 80, 70 yards or whatever, but he can deliver to all three levels of the field with accuracy, with ease, throws with really nice touch. I like the way he layers balls over defenders. Like the way he finds soft spots in the zone. Something you see across his tape is he'll be flat-footed and is able to deliver sideline to sideline. It's just all upper body. A testament to just kind of his arm strength and where he's at in his development at this point. Works in something of a pro style system at the high school level, can work out of multiple drops, can work under center, shows the ability to kind of really work the RPO game. I thought he did a really good job of that as a sophomore. Just the combination of a quick release and the zip he gets on the ball and the touch and where he's placing the ball on the receiver, he really puts it on there, and there's multiple throws you see across the sophomore year where it just pins the receiver essentially. And that's exactly what you want from a quarterback. Obviously things to work on. I think he's a guy that, like I said, needs to continue getting bigger, something that will improve his game overall. His body strength needs to improve. I think he plays tougher than he's listed at. Obviously 6'3", 180 pounds, slight frame, but you like some of the juice he has as a runner. I really enjoyed watching him run. It was kind of the first glimpses of him this year, really starting to get comfortable as a runner. He's a fluid mover, but has some wiggle in the short area, has some juice to him as a runner. And so I'm excited to see how he continues to develop that part of his game, how much more we see of him as a runner here in his junior season in the fall. But talking about just other things, kind of to work on before he's got 2 more years of high school development ahead. I think that arm strength can continue and to improve. I think his ball placement is excellent. He does a really good job on deep throws of leading receivers downfield and throwing them open. Those of you who don't really know what that means, it's specifically against zone coverage. His ability to kind of read out the coverage, throw where the receivers going to be, or where he wants the receiver to be, where he'll be open, where the soft spot in the zone is. And that's further advanced. Sophomore quarterbacks typically don't do that type of stuff. Those kind of things are really encouraging, but can continue to work on those things. I think his ability to work off script is encouraging so far, but that can continue to improve. Be able to keep his eyes downfield, make throws, being able to kind of create when pressure's bearing down. Those are things he does well for a sophomore, but things he could obviously continue to improve on. And I'd also say I'd like to see him kind of work through more progressions too. You see that on film right now is he's working through progressions quickly, but you don't often see him working through 3, 4, 5 reads, which is something he's going to have to be asked to do and will have to do at the college level. That'll come in time. But there's a lot of encouraging traits you see on his tape so far, and a lot of reasons to be excited about this edition for Nebraska. As for what this means moving forward and what he brings, I mentioned, Nebraska wanted to get their 27 quarterback in this summer so he could help build out this 27 class. When Nebraska landed Dylan Raiola, it was obviously so late in the cycle, they couldn't utilize Dylan Raiola, the peer recruiter, to help bring some of the high school friends he's made along the way through this, through his recruiting process with him to Lincoln. If that had happened, we could have potentially seen someone like Ryan Wingo joining him in Nebraska. We could have seen someone like David Sanders potentially joining him in Nebraska because he would have had that time to build those relationships, to make visits with those guys, and really get those guys comfortable with potentially playing at Nebraska. Obviously, Dylan's done more than enough as a recruiter since joining the program. He's been instrumental in landing Dane Key out of the transfer portal, was instrumental in landing Cortez Mills and Isaiah Mosey and all these guys that have joined the program since. He's been a really key figure so far, but just the benefits you get of having a high school quarterback like a Trey Taylor, like a Dylan Raiola. But we're talking Taylor, he plays 7-on-7 with 24K, an Orlando-based 7-on-7 team that plays at all the national tournaments. He's been at all the camps. He's been on a bunch of visits. He's developed relationships with some of the top wide receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, and other prospects in this 27 class. He was in Nebraska twice here in the spring. The first time he was at Nebraska, he visited alongside 26 four-star wide receiver target Ryan Mosley and 26 four-star tight end target Luke Sorensen. Now that Taylor's committed, he's going to be able to work on those guys. And so what I'm saying is he's not going to just have an impact on the 27 class. He's going to have an impact on the 26 guys. Those 26 guys are being peer recruited by Dylan. They're being peer recruited by Dayton Raiola. And they're also being peer recruited by now Trey Taylor because Taylor has a chance to potentially be those guys' quarterback down the line. We'll be joining the program after those guys would be as 26 prospects, but he's a guy that they are excited about potentially playing with. He's made he's going to be making his pitch to them, doing his part to make them feel wanted in Lincoln. He was in Lincoln this past weekend for Husker games and was already talking to other top recruits on campus. Four-star athlete Zane Rowe, the 27 athlete out of Denton Guyer who can play tight end and defensive end. He told me that he and Trey Taylor were able to kind of build a relationship. Both are excited and want to play together. And now that Taylor's committed, I expect Taylor to be in Rowe's ear about joining him in Lincoln. You go to the state of Illinois where Taylor's from. He's built relationships with guys like Cameron Wagner, four-star offensive tackle, one of the top offensive tackles in the Midwest in the 27 cycle. I expect Nebraska's already had Wagner on campus twice. I expect Nebraska to maintain, kind of a top position in that recruitment now with the addition of Taylor, who's going to be working to add Wagner and have Wagner join him in Lincoln. Other top names to keep in mind, again, this is going to be a long shot, but Taylor has developed a really good relationship with Jameer Brown, the number one receiver in the 2027 class. Ohio State commit, obviously going to be tough to move a top receiver off an Ohio State commit, just what Ohio State's been able to do with that position. But Taylor has said multiple times he wants Brown to join him wherever he goes plays college football, and I expect Nebraska to at least make a run at Brown now that they have Taylor committed. Ahmad Hudson, number one tight end in the 27 class. Those two have built a relationship over the years, had a couple top schools in common, LSU, Nebraska, A&M. Nebraska had Hudson on campus for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I expect Nebraska to remain a contender in that recruitment, especially now that Taylor's committed. And he's just getting started. Obviously, this is the 27 class. We're 2 years away from these guys joining campus and enrolling and doing all that. So there's plenty of time for him to get the ball rolling, but expect Taylor to be more than an active peer recruiter. I expect him to be a really vocal peer recruiter. I'd expect him to return to campus at least once this summer. Expect him in for multiple games in the fall. Obviously very exciting and gets the ball rolling. And I'll say this before I get out of here, Nebraska's not done. Expecting some more movement here in the next few days. And it's going to be a busy summer. Probably looking closer to 26 class. Could see some 27 additions here in the next few weeks and months. But really this 26 class, it needs to get going for Nebraska, and I expect it to get going here in the next few weeks and months, especially once we get into summer season with official visits kicking off. That'll do it for us. Appreciate you guys tuning in to this commit reaction. We'll be back with Recruiting Blitz next week.